Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about all of the sets that came out in 2024, including the standard legal sets, the Universes Beyond sets, as well as the remastered set that came out this last year. It is only going to be paper sets. I just want to preface that. We're not going to be talking about any arena-specific things like Pioneer Masters or Khans of Tarkir that came out on Arena. It's just going to be the paper sets. And there's a few things that we're going to talk about. So we're going to kind of talk about the sets overall, you know, when they came out, specific treatments that maybe those specific cards had from that set. We're going to talk about some notable cards as well as the mechanics, and then finally my overall grade for the set, just how I felt overall. That's including gameplay, that's including draft formats, that's just including everything. I'm going to be going into detail on everything. So I'm really excited to talk about all these different sets today because overall Magic came out with some really interesting sets this last year. It's a little bit of different stuff. Obviously we had, you know, like we had the Western theme, and then we had all these other, you know, we had the Murder Mystery set, and then we had Burrow, and it was like all these crazy sets. So I'm very excited to go into detail on all the sets that came out this last year. And let's go and take a look at all the sets that did come out this last year. So, taking a quick look at all the sets that came out in 2024, this is obviously what we're working with here. We have Ravika Remastered, Murders at Carlo Manor, and the Fallout set that came out in early 2024. Middle of 2024, we had Outlaws of Thunder Junction and Modern Horizons 3, and then toward the end of the year, we had Assassin's Creed, Burrow, Duskborn, and although it's not on here because it wasn't originally on here when they announced all these sets, Magic Foundation's also hiding out at the end. So a lot of sets that came out that, you know, are considered sets. Usually we don't get quite this many, and from my understanding, it's going to be amped up a little bit next year. So overall, I'm really excited to be able to talk about my personal thoughts on all the sets that released in 2024. Okay, so starting off, we have Ravika Remastered. It's a full reprint set. There were no new cards that came into any specific formats. It was just a whole bunch of reprints for multiple different formats, and there was a whole bunch of spicy artworks that kind of came with it. You know, obviously, like Stomping Ground here, we have the regular one that came out, which also is the original art, which I really liked how there's a combination of original art and some really new sweet art. There was a whole bunch of different old bordered cards as well, again, like Stomping Ground, and then a whole bunch of cards got a nice full art special treatment. I know like Cyclonic Rift was another big example of that, and I want to say Dark Confidant as well. Overall, like, I really liked all these different treatments that they did, and they kind of do that moving forward now with different sets, but overall, really big fan of that. So, unlike some of the sets we're going to talk about today, Ravika Remastered, it was all reprints. There was nothing added to any different formats or anything like that. It was just basically just the best of Ravika, just between all the different sets and such like that. I think overall, I think the set was pretty good. I remember it just came out a little bit before MagicCon Chicago, so I know a lot of people were like cracking packs like crazy. Whenever people got like prize packs or, you know, or they got like tickets, they always wanted to get Ravika Remastered just because, hey, I can roll the dice for like an extended art land or something like that, which a lot of people did, and I know I opened a few packs at Chicago, and I know I got it was a foil alt art steam vents and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm rambling on a little bit. I think the set was pretty good overall. Like, honestly, I don't have a lot of negative things to say for the most part about Ravika Remastered. I would say with remastered sets like this, I'm always going to give them a similar grade. I'm just going to give it a B. I mean, like, the set was pretty good overall. Again, didn't add anything. It was just reprints with some new art, which, you know, obviously it's always nice when those card prices go down a little bit, you know, like Cyclonic Rift and some of those other really crazy pricey cards. So overall, again, it's a remastered set. I'm just going to give it ahead and give it a solid B. So our first standard set of the year, Murders at Carlo Manor, the murder mystery themed set based on, you know, all the different leaders of Ravnica, and it's basically just Clue. Take Ravnica and a bunch of the guild leaders, and boom, you have Murders at Carlo Manor. I think this set was really, really cool overall. The couple things I want to highlight with this is the different mechanics. We have the cases in Case of the Gateway Express, which are similar to sagas in a way, kind of, you know, obviously they enter, they have an ability, and then you solve them. Once it's solved, you get a nice bonus from that. We also have I'm trying to remember. It's called Cloak. So yeah, you put the card, you know, usually sometimes it's from hand, I want to feel like, but it's usually just from the top of your library. It's a 2/2 with Ward 2, and then you can turn it face up, so it's kind of like Morph for the most part, but it has Ward 2, which is pretty nice. And then we also had Suspect, which basically just means the creature has menace and it can't block, and there's a whole bunch of different cards with Suspect, or is it Suspect or Suspect? I don't know, but anyways, I think it's Suspect, of all these different cards. So overall, big fan of the new mechanics that came into this, and I want to talk about a few of the notable cards that came out from this set. Commercial District, and overall just all the Surveil lands, I think that it was really, really cool. I love the design space here. Obviously, with Ravnica, the theme is always having the basic land types on their lands, and this one is definitely no exception to that. There's also Leyline of the Guild Pact, a card that's been very, very strong in Modern and Pioneer and Mono Green Devotion decks. Obviously, Modern being like the 5-color Zoo decks, and playing Turn 2 Scion of Dracos, and some other fun things like that. Everyone loves Turn 2 Scion of Draco, as well as Aftermath Analyst. This card is seeing play in Standard, it's seeing play in Pioneer. People love playing it Commander. Overall, I feel like this is one of the best uncommons in the set, and overall best design cards in the set. People are a huge fan of Aftermath Analyst. So overall, Murders at Karlov Manor is a really interesting set that came out this last year. So I think a lot of people were really excited about it just because, again, Ravnica Remastered had just kind of came out, and so people were really into the whole, you know, Ravnica's back kind of thing. And I felt like the set overall, it didn't feel like Ravnica. It really didn't. Like, some cards kind of did, but I don't know. I feel like the plane, it felt like a little forced just because it was like, we want to do this, this murder mystery theme. We might as well just do it on Ravnica, which kind of reminds me of when they did Lost Caverns of Ixalan. They were like, well, we want to do this theme set, and it kind of makes more sense to do it on Ixalan than it does on a new plane, and it kind of felt like that, but it didn't feel as executed as much as I would have liked. I don't know, it just really didn't feel like a flavorful set. But, you know, the draft environment was solid. I really didn't have anything against it for the most part. Obviously, there's a lot of strong cards that came out from Murders at Karlov Manor. But just, I don't know, I felt like the set overall, I'm a little bit mixed on it, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a C. It's not that the set was bad per se, it just didn't, like, all the other Ravnica sets historically have been like, whoa, like, so exciting, and then this one was just, I don't know. So I have to go ahead and give it a C. It might be a little controversial, but overall, that's kind of how I feel on the set. Our next set we have to talk about is the first Universes Beyond set that came out this last year, and that is Fallout. Fallout, obviously, a lot of people were a little skeptical with this, because it's not very close to overall, in terms of traditional Magic sets or anything like that, but a lot of people were definitely very, very excited for Fallout that came out this year. Obviously, we have all the different spicy cards. Like, there wasn't really any new mechanics for the most part, other than radiation, but there was a lot of different, like, synergies that you can make, like in the Intelligence bobblehead there. There was a whole bunch of bobbleheads that were in this set. But in terms of popular cards, a lot of people really, really love Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. A lot of people love to play this card because it's really good overall. It just makes a whole bunch of tokens. It's an artifact, so any different style of token or artifact deck can play this card. So overall, I feel like the set had some really, really spicy cards with it. Overall, with Fallout, I feel like it was a decent set, but to be honest with you, it really didn't almost feel like a set in a way, because we didn't even have regular boosters for Fallout. It was just collector boosters and then the commander decks. So, and I'm a little biased just because I don't really play a lot of Commander anymore. Obviously, I play a lot of Standard and Pioneer. So, seeing all these cards, like with some of them being really, really cool cards that I really can't play with how I like to play Magic. Obviously, again, it's personal bias, but it's going to count a little bit against it for me. I think this set was cool overall, and I feel like it was executed properly. Universes Beyond sets are always a little bit, controversial, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a C-. Again, not that the set wasn't executed properly, but it just kind of felt like a vanilla set to me. I'm not a big Fallout player either, and that's probably why I don't have the biggest grade for this, because I don't play Commander and I don't play Fallout. But just overall, the set just kind of felt like another random Universes Beyond set that I really wasn't going to pay much attention to. But yeah, that's why I got to go ahead and give it a C-. So our next standard set of the year, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the Western theme set, which basically just took a whole bunch of MTG villains and some good guys, threw them in a Western set, and that was basically Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I feel like the set was really, really cool overall. I really loved the new mechanics that came out with it. Primarily, we have Saddle, which is similar to crewing, but typically it has a bonus when it is crewed. We have Plot, which is also another really, really cool mechanic. It's kind of like Foretell in a way, but it's also just a little bit different in general. And then Final Showdown is the card that I wanted to show off for the Spree mechanic, and I really do like the Spree mechanic in general. I think it was pretty cool. Whole bunch of different design space there. Obviously, depending on how much you pay into the card, you can choose one or more of those additional abilities. And overall, I think the set was really cool in terms of introducing new mechanics. And I also really love a lot of the notable playables from this set. We have Slickshot Show Off, probably the best plot card. It's super strong in all the red aggro decks. We have 3 steps ahead, probably one of the best counterspells we've seen in Standard and Pioneer in quite some time. And then we also have Bristly Bill, a card that's just popular in so many different formats. People love playing Bristly Bill, and I don't blame them because this card is incredibly strong. Overall, I think Outlaws of Thunder Junction was a pretty solid set. I think that, again, kind of like what I alluded to with Murders of Carlo Manor, it felt very forced, like, hey, we want to do a Western set, so we're just gonna get a bunch of random bad guys in Kellen and throw them in this plane, and woohoo, let's do it. That's kind of what it felt like to me overall. So in terms of like that aspect, I have to grade it a little low. But overall, I liked the new mechanics that came out. The draft environment I thought was pretty fun. It felt a little bomby, you know, it was just like, here's this bomb. Like, what are you going to do about it? But overall, like, I think the set was pretty cool. I have to give it a B. I think it was good. There's a lot of playable cards that were in Standard and Pioneer. It didn't feel like anything was too oppressive. Although Slickshot Show-Off gets a little old when they just go, like, plot it, and then they're just like, you're dead. But that's, you know, neither here or there. I like the set overall. I think it was good. A lot of playables. Overall, pretty high grade for me overall with Outlaws of Thunder Junction. All right, next up, we have Modern Horizons 3. Probably one of the more controversial sets in 2024, not because the set was designed bad or anything like that, but mostly just because of what it did to the Modern format as a whole. And this set didn't introduce any new mechanics. It really just had a bunch of callbacks to different ones and callbacks to different cards. Like Harbinger of the Seas obviously is just a Blood Moon, but it said it's not basic lands or islands. We have Ugin's Labyrinth, a very, very spicy card in terms of flavor reasons. Then we have Flage Titan of Fire's Fury, which is just another card with Escape, which obviously there was Burrow, and then there was Croxa, and then now we have Flage. Overall, this card was just a mosh pit of really, really cool old mechanics, bringing them back, you know, different takes on similar design cards in general, and I think the set was really, really cool. But part of why it's kind of overshadowed a lot of those cool designs is because of the cards that were really broken that came from it. And I want to talk about Nadu, Winged Wisdom real quick, and Psychic Frog. Obviously, both these cards have had a lot of negative impact on the formats. Obviously, Nadu being banned in Modern relatively quick, and it's also really good in Legacy. And Psychic Frog also kind of being, you know, a lot of people think it's next on the chopping block in Modern, and it's also extremely good in Legacy. So I feel like a lot of the spicy designs were overshadowed by the fact that some of these cards are just incredibly powerful and even too powerful for a lot of the different formats that they see playing. But overall, I really, really love Modern Horizons 3 and the sets that kind of, well, the cards that came out in the set just for pure flavor reasons. Overall, Modern Horizons 3, it was kind of a tough one for me to grade in the sense that I used to play so much Modern, and it's disappointing that essentially Modern has turned into a rotating format now with all the Modern Horizon sets just because of how much impact there always is on the metagame. But I'm not looking at these sets like as a metagame as a whole. Like in terms of like the cards see play, I account for that, but I don't count for like format warping, you know, Nadu shenanigans. Like, I don't count Nadu in terms of the set review, as controversial as that might be for some people. But overall, in terms of like spiciness, deck, you know, card playability in all the different formats, I have to give the set an A-. It's always really flavorful. I felt like all of the Modern Horizon sets thus far have been very, very flavorful. A lot of callbacks, a lot of sweet new cards, a lot of reprints. So overall, in terms of how I like Magic sets, Modern Horizons is definitely up there in terms of some of my favorite design sets overall. And again, the draft format was also really, really cool. So yeah, I gotta go ahead and give Modern Horizons 3 an A-, which so far is the highest grade I've given in this entire video. So the other Universes Beyond set that came out in 2024 is Assassin's Creed, which it's Assassin's Creed. Nothing more to say than that. A lot of people kind of forgot that this set came out just because it was so close to coming out after, I believe it was Modern Horizons 3 actually, so a lot of people just kind of forgot that it was coming out. And overall with Assassin's Creed, I really don't have a lot to say about this just because I haven't really experienced the cards that much, to be honest with you. In terms of, you know, notable cards, there really isn't that many because overall, the cards were not the craziest strong cards. The only new mechanic that came out from this set was free running, which means you can pay an alternate casting cost for the card if you dealt damage to a player this turn with an assassin or a commander. And then in terms of notable card, Templar Knight is really the only notable card that people really, really love to play from this set. Obviously, there was a lot of assassin creatures matter cards in this set, but overall, I really felt like this set kind of fell flat. Okay, so I feel like I have very similar opinions with this set as everybody else. I did not like this set. It was way too small. It was beyond boosters, so already not a big fan of that. Again, I also don't play a lot of Commander, and I don't play Assassin's Creed. So overall, it was just, you know, boom, 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 things that I really didn't care for. I gotta give it an F. I mean, you know, it really it had no impact really on Modern, even though it was a Modern legal set, which felt like when they were originally designing this set, it wasn't even intending to be Modern legal, but they realized, hey, if we do these Universes Beyond sets that are only for Commander, you know, a bunch of other players are not even gonna care about it. So they tried to, like, it felt like they tried to switch it last second, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel good. I didn't care about the set at all. The cards really weren't that strong. Like, Templar Knight is obviously cool. Like, I'm cool that that card's around, but that's really about it. I really didn't like this set that much. It's enough. I mean, simply put, a lot of people didn't like this set. Feel like it was poorly executed. The boosters were way too expensive for what they were, at least in terms of, you know, what shops were selling them for. So overall, F, not a fan of Assassin's Creed. Our next standard legal set that we have to talk about is Burrow, which a lot of people were extremely excited about this set when it was first announced, and this set definitely did not disappoint in terms of an overall world building and everything like that. And there's a lot of cool mechanics that came out in this set. And technically, each different, you know, like creature type had its own mechanic, whether or not it's old or new. But a few of the mechanics I want to talk about that each color got is gifting, whether or not it's a tap fish, a treasure, a card. Basically, you get one side of the card that does a pretty solid effect, but you can give your opponent a bonus, and then you get a really nice effect. We have Offspring, which is a really, really cool mechanic, and I love Offspring. You just pay an additional cost with that card, and then you get an additional copy that's a 1/1 token of it. And then the Season Cycle, which has the little paw prints, and then depending on, you know, so for instance, this one, you choose up to 5 paws worth of modes, and then you can choose whatever you want. So you can do, you know, 3-2-1, you can do 2-2-1, you can do 1 5 times. It really just depends. Overall, all the effects are pretty solid on that. And there was a lot of notable cards that came out from this set. Most notably, Hardfire Hero is a huge card in Standard and Pioneer. Yigra, Eater of All, combos really, really well with Cauldron Familiar. And Iridescent Vinelasher is a card seen play in a number of different formats. People love this card. It's good in Commander, it's good in Standard, it's good in Pioneer. Heck, it's probably even good in Modern too. Overall, really, really happy with the design space in this set overall. Okay, so now here's a set that I was really a big fan of. I loved this set. I mean, just in terms of, like, the world building was cool, which I'm not even a big fan of the whole, you know, like, animals or humans thing, you know, like, that's not something that's, like, a driving force for me. It was really just, I felt like the art direction was solid. I really liked a lot of the, like, the art in general. Like, most of the time, I really don't like the alt art stuff, but I thought it was pretty good in this one. I always remember Phineas, like, Phineas's flavor text in the cool art one is like, yeah, I'm that good. I've always really liked that. It just, the set felt like, not that it was a serious tone, but it didn't feel like they were just messing around with the whole set. It felt just, the theme made sense, the cards were strong, the draft format was super fun to do, the cycles were all really cool, and they felt a lot more balanced than a lot of the other cycles do. I think one of my biggest gripes with Burrow is that the rats felt really underpowered. Other than, like, Persistent March Stalker, I feel like the rats were not as good as I kind of wanted them to be, just because I have a long history of, you know, playing against rats, and I always thought they were kind of a cool design space. But anyways, I loved Burrow. It's an A. I mean, like, the set overall was really, really cool, huge popular, you know, it was just like, people love the set. Like, Burrow's awesome. I'm really happy, and, you know, if we go back to Burrow somewhat soon, like, I'll be pretty happy with it overall. Alright, the next set we have to talk about is Duskborn House of Horror, the 80s themed horror set that came out, which a lot of people, it was very mixed on it. You know, I think a big part of it was the transition from, you know, Burrow cutesy to Duskborn horror theme, so it was kind of like a little bit of a shock for some people, but overall, I really did like how this set played out. There's a number of cool mechanics in this set that I want to go over just a few of the basic ones. So obviously we had Survival, basically just saying in your second main phase, if this creature is tapped, you get a nice bonus, which at least with Kona, I mean, wow, putting a permanent from your hand into play is pretty powerful. We also had the Manifest Dread mechanic, which, although it's different than Cloaking, you know, you still do have a face down 2/2 creature, so similar but a little bit different. And then we had Impending, which was only from the Mythic cycle of the Overlords, but basically you pay it at a lower cost, it gets these counters, and it comes in as an enchantment, And then obviously at your end step, you remove a counter, and then once all the counters are removed, it does become a creature. So overall, I really thought the mechanics in this set were really, really cool and flavorful based on the plane. And there's a number of good cards in this set, but the few I want to talk about, obviously the Overlord cycle, the most common one played being Overlord of the Hauntwoods. People love this card, and I don't blame them. It ramps them, and then it's a 6/5 body. It's really good. Kaito, Bane of Nightmares. This card is super cool, and it's also just a really, really fun, flavorful deck that you see this card played in. It does see some play in Standard now, and obviously Pioneer, Ninja, Rogue decks. It's really, really good there. And then Valgavoth, being the new, one of the best things to reanimate or cheat into play. This card is incredibly strong in a number of different decks, and all types of players love to play this card. Okay, so I feel like the weirdest transition for people was in this time frame, just because we went from Burrow cutesy animals to horror theme set. So it was like these people that maybe hopped out on Burrow, and then it just does a complete 180 and then goes to a horror theme set. I feel like could have been a little weird for some people that maybe were just getting into Magic. Like, what is Magic? We go from these cute little bunnies to these weird nightmare monstrosities. Like, I don't know. I feel like it could have been weird for some people. But anyways, I think Duskborn, like, overall, I was pretty happy with it. I gave the set a B-, and it's not even that the set was bad. I mean, I'm a harsh grader. Like, trust me, I'm not just, like, throwing just, you get an A, you get an A, you get an A. Like, I think the set's overall, B- for me is pretty solid. Obviously, there was a lot of playables in this format in terms of Standard and Pioneer. A lot of really, really spicy Commander cards. So overall, this set was pretty solid. It just wasn't my favorite of the year is really what it was. I felt like, in terms of the set, it felt like at times that they didn't almost, like, some cards they weren't taking seriously. Like, some cards it felt like they were just kind of just like a haha, jokey factor, put it in my bulk box, never talk about it again. It felt like there was like some design space there where it was like that. But I don't know, overall, this set was pretty good. I'll give it a B-. I don't think it was as good as Outlaws of Thunder Junction, but overall, I was pretty happy with the set. And our final set we have to talk about today is Magic Foundations, which, spoiler alert, was my favorite set of the year for multiple reasons. So there really wasn't any new mechanics that came out in the set. For the most part, the cards were relatively simple, but they were still really, really strong. Like cards like Bloodthirsty Conqueror, Bolt Wave, and Sire of Seven Deaths. Simple cards, but powerful cards, which are my personal favorite cards in Magic. I like cards like Thundermaw Hellkite and Carnage Tyrant. Simple but strong is the way I love to play and just the way I love to go in terms of overall design space. So, huge fan of these. But the other reason I was really excited about this set is the number of spicy reprints that came from this set. Most notably, Land of Realms returning to Standard since it was rotated in Dominaria, but cards coming back not only to Standard but also Pioneer as well, like Zombify and Krenko Mob Boss. Just so many spicy reprints that a lot of people were huge fans of with this set overall. And it was a really, really nice set for new players or players that want to build a collection to get into. So overall, extremely happy that they made this set. And finally, my last thoughts on the last set that came out this year, Magic Foundations. Let me cut to the chase. A+. The set was just chef's kiss. I loved this set overall. In terms of, the new cards were strong. They were simple for new players, which that's the biggest thing. And especially for me, I love Carnage Tyrant, Thundermaw Hellkite. Strong, simple cards are just, I gravitate toward those cards. I don't know what it is, but I've always been a big fan of them. Lots of playables in a number of different formats. There's cards that were great for Pioneer, great for even Modern, great for Standard, great for Commander. There was spicy Commanders. Heck, if we want to count Jumpstart, part of like Magic Foundation's Jumpstart, there was a lot of really, really cool Jumpstart cards in there like that were brand new. There were some great reprints. People loved the alt-art stuff, which just the set, just perfect. I think the set was awesome. And again, the reprints, I love it when they do spicy reprints that are new to Standard and Pioneer and maybe even Modern sometimes. I'm always a huge fan of that. So when you take all that, you just have this nice, delicious hamburger of just perfection, and that's Magic Foundations. A+, my favorite set of the year. And the other thing is too, is if you love building new decks, which is kind of, I felt like what Foundations was about, is setting a foundation for new players to be able to build new decks with, because obviously you had the starter kits, and then you had all the bundles and such. I mean, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect in every way. I feel like Wizards of the Coast killed it with this set. A+. Okay, let's take a quick look back at all the grades that I gave all the sets in 2024. So, Ravika Remastered got a solid B, Murders of Carlo Manor got a C, Fallout a C-, Outlaws of Thunder Junction a B, Modern Horizons 3 got an A-, Assassin's Creed a big F. Burrow got a solid A, Duskborn House Forward a B-, and Magic Foundations getting an A+. So my overall evaluation from this last year in terms of all the sets that came out in 2024, and this isn't even like something I like averaged out or anything like that, it's just my overall thoughts this last year. I'm going to go ahead and give all the sets combined as a B for 2024. I think the sets were pretty cool. Again, some of them felt a little forced, like we want to do this themed set, so we're gonna do it this way. So it felt a little forced at times, but overall, I feel like the execution was pretty solid. There was very few cards I felt like that were just like these overall glaring design mistakes. Obviously, you know, everyone likes to laugh at Nadu and, you know, poke at like Psychic Frog, for instance. But overall, like I think the set was pretty well, not the sets of 2024 were pretty solid. I liked them overall. I would say I liked last year's sets a little bit better, which it's not even that it was like they designed the sets better last year. It was just like, you know, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I was, you know, I'm a huge fan of dinosaurs in general, so I was a little bit more biased toward that, obviously. But then also just, you know, like, just felt like last year kind of felt more pre-established. It seems like this year, things kind of got changed around because now they have, like, the upcoming Universes Beyond sets being standard legal. So it felt like some things kind of got maybe, you know, like, they had it planned out and then it got changed. So I don't know. It didn't feel as natural, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. And that's kind of the preface of a lot of this video, is a lot of the sets didn't feel natural to me. So I gotta take it down a little bit, but I like the sets overall. And I think 2025 is also going to be looking solid moving forward. Obviously we have MTG Remastered coming out pretty much early. I think from what I remember, I think it's January of 2025, and then boom, we're gonna be hopping into Aether Drift, and then we're just gonna be kind of going on from there, and then we're gonna be eventually hopping into Universes Beyond sets that will be standard legal. Which, if you want to check out my video kind of talking about Universes Beyond in standard, I'll have a link at the end of the video here, so if you want to go ahead and check that out, you definitely can. But anyways, that's my set review for 2024. Overall, again, I think this set was, I keep saying this set, the sets this year were all pretty good. Let me know in the comment section below if you have a differing opinion than me. Obviously, I would like to go ahead and hear that. And I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. If you're not subscribed, we're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, though. You should definitely subscribe, so that way when we do the huge giveaway at 1,000 subscribers, you will be notified of that, and you're definitely not going to want to miss that. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.